Decoding Body Language, the Silent Conversation, written and published by Sonic Tome. What if I told you that the most powerful conversations are those where words are not even needed? The moments when the unsaid speaks louder than the spoken, when a glance, a shift in posture, or a subtle touch communicates more than any sentence could. This is the realm of the unspoken, where your body becomes the narrator of your story and your true intentions find their voice. In this space, where emotions are not filtered through the sieve of words, understanding becomes a dance of signals and unspoken connections, and the ability to read this silent language can make all the difference. Imagine walking into a room and knowing, without a single word spoken, whether someone is at ease or on edge. Picture navigating a conversation where you sense the tension beneath the surface, read the tiny cues that reveal underlying doubts or hidden excitement, and respond not just to the words, but to the story behind them. These are the moments that separate a simple exchange from a true understanding, that transform interactions from transactional to transformative. Body language is not just an accompaniment to speech. It is the silent architect of communication, a complex symphony of movement, expression, and energy that demands attention and respect. Yet, in a world where we often rush through encounters, it is easy to forget that the most revealing moments are the ones that happen when our guards are down and our true selves emerge, unfiltered and raw. The art of reading between the lines is not just about seeing what's there, but noticing what's not. It's recognizing the flicker in someone's eyes, the hesitation in their voice, the subtle tightening of a jaw. It's learning to tell the difference between what's real and what's crafted, what's fleeting and what's enduring. The gift of this understanding goes beyond decoding gestures. It lies in the power to respond in ways that build trust, deepen connections, and invite vulnerability. It's about more than just being heard. It's about being seen. It's the bridge between empathy and insight, where what you know instinctively becomes as impactful as what you say. To master this art is to step into a realm where you are not just a participant in the conversation, but a masterful conductor of it, orchestrating moments of genuine connection that transcend words. Would you recognize these moments if they happened right in front of you? Would you know what to do with the information, how to read the subtle cues that shape the underlying truth? The path to mastering this silent language begins with awareness, moves through understanding, and ultimately leads to connection. In the end, it's not just about knowing what people say, it's about knowing who they are when they're not speaking at all. Chapter 1. The Unseen Language. Every interaction we engage in carries a dialogue that transcends spoken language. Often we are so caught up in the words being exchanged that we miss the quiet symphony of gestures, expressions, and postures weaving through the conversation. Yet, this is where true meaning lies. What makes nonverbal communication so powerful is its ability to reveal a deeper, more genuine layer of our thoughts and feelings. It's the silent music of human connection, nuanced and layered, often more authentic than the words themselves. Think of a room filled with people in conversation. The words may be polite and the content light, but the air is thick with unspoken messages. You might notice a shift in posture as someone listens closely, or a subtle flicker of a smile that hints at an inside joke. It's in the small shifts of the eyes, a hand placed on a table, or an unconsciously crossed arm that tells the story behind the words. While we might verbally express contentment, our body can hint at the tension we're holding on to, or the excitement we struggle to contain. It's these subtle signals that allow us to sense when someone's enthusiasm is genuine, or when they're merely being courteous. This is why so much of our trust in others depends not just on what they say, but how they say it. The unguarded moments, those fleeting gestures that don't always match the spoken word, reveal what is truly on someone's mind. A quick glance away when discussing an important topic or the tapping of a foot under the table can hint at nervousness or impatience, even if the dialogue remains calm. Nonverbal communication doesn't just happen in one-on-one conversations. It's essential in groups, meetings, and presentations. In a boardroom, an executive's subtle shift in stance can indicate confidence, or uncertainty. The unspoken glances between team members can speak volumes about the consensus or dissent that might not yet be voiced. Even when words fail, a shared knowing look or a collective sigh can transform a room's energy, fostering camaraderie or underscoring tension. This form of communication is universal. While every culture adds its own set of rules and customs, the basic human response remains similar. The tilt of the head, the slight squint, or the raised eyebrow are signals that connect us, bypassing language barriers and forming an unspoken understanding. It's as if the body itself has its own dialect, one that is fluent in human emotion and intent. Yet, understanding this silent language requires more than observation. It demands mindfulness and empathy. To truly grasp the unseen conversation, we must move beyond our preconceptions and focus on the details. It's not enough to notice that someone is smiling. We need to ask why they are smiling. What emotion lies beneath that smile? It could be happiness, amusement, or a concealed response to stress. This ability to read deeper is what transforms us from passive observers to active participants in understanding each other. Even in moments of silence, there is communication. The way we fill a pause, the choice of a shared glance instead of words, or the small space we leave between ourselves and others tells a story. Silence can soothe or challenge, build trust or evoke doubt. The stillness of our posture during an unspoken moment can convey confidence, attentiveness, or discomfort. Mastering the subtle art of nonverbal communication means learning to appreciate how each gesture and expression fits into the larger puzzle of human interaction. The quiet way our bodies express thoughts and emotions can be a guide, helping us move past surface-level conversations and into a space where authentic, unspoken connections flourish. Chapter 2. The story behind every gesture. Every movement, no matter how slight, is a chapter in the story we tell without words. It's in the tilt of the head when we hear something surprising, the subtle fidgeting of fingers when we're nervous, or the confident way someone leans forward to make a point. These gestures are more than just physical acts. They are visual sentences crafted by the body, speaking volumes when the spoken word falls short. Think about the way we use our hands. A hand extended with an open palm speaks of honesty, trustworthiness, and openness. It invites connection and makes the other person feel included. The same hand, clenched tightly or hidden in a pocket, may suggest discomfort, fear, or an unspoken defensive attitude. There is a story woven into every gesture. A person who taps their fingers on a table might be eager, impatient, or deep in thought. The rhythm, the force, even the pauses between taps speak to different moods and motivations. Posture is another storyteller that often goes unnoticed, but carries immense significance. A person who stands upright, shoulders back, and chest open, signals strength and confidence. It's not just about how someone positions themselves, it's about what that position says about their state of mind. On the other hand, a slouched posture can convey fatigue, insecurity, or even disinterest. It's the way our bodies react, taking on a shape that reflects our inner emotions and beliefs. The subtle movements of the face are a powerful part of this unspoken language. A slight raise of the eyebrow or a sudden narrowing of the eyes can shift the meaning of an entire conversation. Consider a brief, involuntary twitch of the mouth, an almost invisible expression that can betray skepticism, amusement, or a suppressed reaction to what's being said. A genuine smile, one that reaches the eyes, can tell someone you're pleased or happy to be in their presence. Yet, a smile that doesn't quite reach the eyes can hint at politeness, discomfort, or even an effort to mask true feelings. These nuances can change the nature of our interactions, altering what is meant, felt, or received. Then there are the moments when a glance says more than 1,000 words. Eye contact is powerful, but it isn't as simple as staring into someone's eyes. The way we look at others can speak of admiration, aggression, curiosity, or affection. A fleeting glance, a steady gaze, or looking away at a certain moment can change the dynamics of a conversation. It's a dance of attention that can be used to invite trust or create distance. Some people naturally hold eye contact as a sign of sincerity, while others may avoid it, communicating nervousness or discomfort. The space between glances, the pause before someone meets your eyes again, each detail adds to the story. Movements, posture, and glances form a language that is rich and nuanced, capable of showing what words cannot. A person's entire demeanor can be illuminated by how they choose to use their body. Watch how someone shifts their weight from one foot to the other when speaking. It might reveal the mental weight of what they're discussing or their anticipation for what comes next. A hand resting on the chin can indicate deep contemplation or a momentary pause to collect thoughts. It's a gesture that can be both deliberate and unconscious, an act of inner dialogue trying to surface outwardly. Every gesture has its timing, and that timing can change its meaning. The subtle art of reading these movements lies in understanding when they happen. A raised eyebrow at a certain point in a conversation can hint at surprise or skepticism, but if it occurs when the topic shifts, it might signal a change in emotion or reveal hidden doubts. The pause before a response, the way someone shifts their eyes to the left or right, or how a knee bounces under the table as someone talks are all cues that form a complex picture of what someone might be feeling or thinking. The story behind every gesture is a combination of conscious choices and subconscious responses. It's not just about the shape of the body or the direction of the eyes, but the intention and instinct behind it. The silent conversations that unfold through gestures, postures, and glances carry weight. They influence how we perceive each other, how we form opinions, and how we build trust. In the spaces between words, where the body speaks, we find the truest reflections of human emotion and connection. Chapter 3: Unlocking Emotional Truths. Emotions have a unique way of surfacing, escaping through the tiniest of details that defy conscious control. When we think we're hiding how we truly feel, our bodies have a different agenda. The subtleties of the face, the shifts in our posture, and the smallest tremors of our movements are powerful indicators of our emotional state. These tiny expressions are often our most honest, raw selves peeking through the surface, revealing truths that we may not even be aware of. Take a moment to observe the eyes. Often called the windows to the soul, they can reveal more about our emotions than words ever could. The way the eyes widen, the subtle quiver of the lower lid, or the way they flicker when someone speaks, these cues are indicators of surprise, fear, or excitement. When someone's eyes dart away during an important moment, it can signal discomfort or an attempt to evade the truth. A deep, steady gaze can suggest confidence, interest, or trust, while shifting eyes can betray anxiety or hesitation. It's in these fleeting seconds that emotions are laid bare, conveying honesty or revealing the struggle to suppress them. Expressions are equally expressive, but they don't always follow a script. A smile that reaches just the corners of the mouth is one thing, but a smile that lights up the entire face is something else entirely. It reflects joy that resonates deep within and speaks of a genuine state of happiness. On the other hand, a forced smile, one that doesn't involve the eyes and carries an air of tension, is a quick tip-off to inner discomfort or a desire to appear polite when the emotions underneath are anything but. Facial expressions are often accompanied by subtle muscle movements that happen before we can catch them. The fleeting raise of an eyebrow, a twitch at the corner of the mouth, or a barely noticeable clench of the jaw can signal stress, surprise, or even doubt. These tiny shifts are what betray us. They are like tiny sparks that ignite a fire of understanding in others. They show that our emotional state is more than what we intend to present. It's woven into the fabric of our being and emerges, sometimes against our will. When it comes to the body, the story told is just as compelling. The way we hold ourselves can speak volumes. When we're nervous, our bodies may tighten, arms folding over our chest or legs crossing in a defensive gesture. The slight shifting of weight from one foot to the other can show impatience or discomfort. If someone is feeling at ease, they might lean slightly forward, hands resting casually at their sides or on their lap, fingers relaxed. It's the contrast between the stiff, controlled stance of discomfort and the open, confident one of ease that reveals the emotional undercurrent. Listen to the voice as well. It's not just about the words spoken, but how they are delivered. The pitch of the voice, its speed, and the pauses between words carry clues about someone's emotional state. A voice that trembles might carry hints of fear or vulnerability, while a voice that quickens with every syllable could show excitement or agitation. The intentional silence between phrases can add weight to a conversation, hinting at contemplation, hesitation, or a reluctance to confront a topic. Hands can say more than 1,000 words, and they often do so without us realizing it. The gestures we make with our hands reveal so much about our level of engagement, comfort, or stress. Resting a hand against the mouth or face while listening can signal that we're processing what's being said, or protecting ourselves from discomfort. When a person's fingers are drumming on a table or tapping a foot, it's not just an idle habit but an indicator of an internal emotional state, whether it's impatience, anticipation, or agitation. Hands that make sweeping gestures or move rhythmically often show confidence and passion in what's being spoken. It's the combination of these small elements, the eyes, the mouth, the posture, the subtle hand movements, that create a web of silent communication. They form an intricate language that transcends spoken words and connects us to the raw essence of human emotion. What we say with our bodies can often be more revealing than anything we speak aloud. This silent dialogue, where emotions are shared not through words but through gestures, facial expressions, and subtle movements, allows us to understand one another on a deeper level. It is the language of authenticity, where feelings emerge unbidden, letting us glimpse the truths hidden beneath our conscious efforts to present a controlled exterior. Chapter 4. Reading the Invisible Signal. In the course of daily interactions, we often miss the subtleties that reveal the true nature of a conversation. While words serve as the foundation of communication, it's the unspoken signals that complete the story. These invisible messages are woven into the fabric of our gestures, movements, and even the moments of silence. They don't shout for attention, they whisper. To read them, you must tune in. Attune yourself to the unspoken subtleties that may be floating just below the surface. When someone's words don't align with their actions, that's when the silent signals speak the loudest. A person may say they're comfortable with a plan, but the way they shift in their seat, the slight tension in their clenched jaw, or the way their hands avoid steady contact can say otherwise. Recognizing these mismatches can give you insight into their true feelings. The conflict between spoken assurance and body language hesitation is often a sign of internal conflict. Then there are the moments when someone's expression flickers and disappears like a shadow crossing their face. You may see a brief flash of sadness before it is replaced by a smile, or a fleeting look of frustration that quickly melts into composure. These are moments that can go unnoticed by most, but hold a wealth of information about the real emotions in play. The human brain processes such signals in microseconds, and they're often the first clues to what someone is truly experiencing. Understanding these fleeting expressions and recognizing them before they vanish is key to mastering the art of reading unspoken communication. Take note of how people use the space around them. How close they stand or how far they place themselves from others can communicate comfort or discomfort. Someone leaning in to speak with you may be expressing interest or intent, while a step back might indicate hesitation or a desire for distance. Our environment is an extension of our body language, subtly reinforcing or contradicting our spoken words. The way we move also plays a significant role in conveying what we truly mean. A deliberate, slow walk may signify confidence or control, while shuffling feet might reveal unease or distraction. Even small, unconscious habits can be revealing. How one runs a hand through their hair or touches their neck when confronted with a difficult question can speak of nervousness or a sense of vulnerability. The patterns of movement we unconsciously slip into can reflect how secure, apprehensive, or engaged we are at any given moment. Eyes, as always, hold a special power. The way they dart or maintain contact can signal trust, discomfort, or honesty. Someone who can't maintain eye contact during an important conversation might be hiding something, but that's not always the case. It could simply be a sign of shyness or a cultural difference. Eye movement isn't just about where they're directed, it's about how they move. Quick glances, long stares, and even the way eyes narrow or widen can offer clues. People may look away momentarily to collect their thoughts, but an eye that snaps to the side or avoids direct engagement can signal unease or uncertainty. The stillness of the body can speak just as clearly as its movements. When a conversation is at a standstill, the tension in the room becomes palpable, revealing thoughts that words cannot express. The way a person chooses to sit, whether with an open posture or with crossed arms and legs, can send signals of openness or defensiveness. Notice the way a person's breathing changes as they process information or as the conversation takes an unexpected turn. Shallow breaths might signify stress or anxiety, while deep, even breaths often reflect calmness or acceptance. The pauses in conversation are not empty. They carry weight, acting as moments when individuals recalibrate, decide what to say next, or decide whether to reveal more. These moments can be revealing. A pause before answering a question can be a sign of careful thought or a strategy to buy time. On the other hand, a hesitation followed by a rushed response may indicate uncertainty or discomfort. Interpreting these invisible signals requires more than just observation. It demands a willingness to see beyond what is said and into what is felt. When you start picking up on these cues, you begin to perceive the conversations that lie beneath the surface. Every shift in posture, every flicker of the eye, every subtle movement carries meaning that adds context to the spoken words. The more aware you become of these cues, the easier it is to understand the true message someone is trying to convey. You start reading between the lines, hearing the silent conversations that are happening all around you, and connecting more deeply with those around you. Chapter 5. The Dance of Distance and Space. Personal space is one of the most powerful, yet overlooked tools in human interaction. It is a language spoken silently, but its meaning is loud and clear. The way we position ourselves in relation to others tells stories that words cannot capture. We often take for granted that our physical distance can communicate warmth, trust, or discomfort. Yet, it is an essential part of our social toolkit, influencing how we connect with others and the types of relationships we build. Consider how an individual instinctively shifts their body when they feel at ease, compared to when they feel threatened. We naturally respect boundaries and adjust our physical distance to match the situation. When we are comfortable, we lean in, face someone directly, or allow our bodies to be open and relaxed. It's in these moments that we communicate unspoken confidence, openness, and willingness to connect. Conversely, when discomfort creeps in, our posture stiffens, our bodies subtly angle away, or we unconsciously create barriers by folding our arms or stepping back. These shifts say more than any words could. The amount of space we need can vary greatly, influenced by culture, personality, and the type of relationship we have with the person in front of us. While some may feel at ease standing close to a friend, others may require a larger buffer to feel comfortable. Understanding this helps you navigate interactions more effectively. The subtle act of respecting someone's space can set the tone for trust and mutual understanding. Stepping too close to someone who values space can create discomfort and defensiveness, while standing too far away might convey coldness or detachment. The distance we keep also signals our sense of power and dominance. In professional settings, a leader may choose to maintain a certain physical distance that sets them apart, creating a sense of authority. On the other hand, an individual who is new or uncertain may keep themselves more closed off, standing further away to avoid any potential perceived threat. This dance of distance is not just about proximity, but also about the subtle power plays that happen unconsciously. It is also important to recognize how space is defined in moments of tension or conflict. When conversations become heated, People often find themselves subconsciously stepping back to create distance or adopting a stance that puts a shield between them and the other person, such as leaning against a desk or folding arms tightly across the chest. This instinctive action reveals an emotional desire to protect oneself, to create an invisible barrier that maintains control over the situation. The use of space becomes a method of regaining equilibrium and protecting one's mental boundaries. Body orientation is another component of this unspoken dance. The way we angle our bodies can signal our level of engagement and openness. Turning your shoulders fully towards someone, maintaining an open and unguarded position, invites conversation and shows a willingness to engage. A slight turn or a half-facing position, on the other hand, may imply readiness to disengage or that attention is divided. This can be especially telling in groups where body language shifts when individuals interact. For instance, if someone's attention drifts away from the center of conversation, that's a sign they're either distracted or disinterested. In crowded spaces, the way we navigate through groups can reveal a lot about our comfort with social dynamics. Those who are at ease will maneuver confidently, making the smallest of gestures or sidesteps to keep their space unintruded upon. Others, who may be more anxious, will close in, hugging their personal bubble tightly and making movements that signal unease, such as avoiding eye contact or pressing close to walls. The context of space also shifts when considering virtual communication. While we no longer need to physically maintain a distance, our behavior with digital interactions mirrors that same dance of space. Whether a person takes up the whole screen in a video call or whether they lean into the camera in a subtle effort to create a closer connection, we read these signals in the same way as we do in person. Positioning in a digital space carries just as much meaning as it does in the physical world. A cramped, crowded frame suggests a hurried conversation, while wide, uncluttered spacing can suggest comfort, a relaxed approach, or sometimes even distance. Even when no one is physically present, the way we arrange objects around us or the space we choose to occupy can reflect our inner state. A cluttered desk or a space filled with pictures and plants may suggest openness, creativity, and a need for comfort, while an empty, minimalistic area could reflect a desire for focus, simplicity, or a cautious approach to interaction. The way we define our environment speaks volumes about our boundaries and how we interact with the world beyond them. The subtle cues of distance and space tell the stories we don't voice, often telling us more about a person's feelings than what their words ever could. This dance, delicate and nuanced, allows us to sense trust, welcome, hesitation, or discomfort without a single word. Mastering the interpretation of this dance leads to deeper understanding and smoother connections. When you can tune into the rhythm of distance, you tap into an essential part of the human experience, one that continues to speak even when the conversation has ended. Chapter 6. The Power of the Eye. The eyes, often called the windows to the soul, hold a language that transcends spoken words. A simple gaze, a fleeting look, or an intense stare can reveal the most profound emotions and intentions. Eye contact isn't just an accessory to conversation. It is an anchor that keeps the connection between people strong and authentic. It has the power to convey warmth, establish dominance, show vulnerability, or signal a wish to retreat. The depth of communication through eye contact is so significant that its nuances can dictate the course of an entire interaction. Eye contact, when steady and genuine, speaks of confidence and openness. It says, "I see you and I'm present with you." This kind of connection can make others feel valued and acknowledged, drawing them in with an unspoken promise of attentiveness. When you lock eyes with someone, you're not just observing them, you're reaching out, letting them know that your attention is devoted entirely to them. This creates a sense of trust, making the other person more inclined to reciprocate honesty and openness. It's a bridge that forms, not just between two people, but between their inner worlds. However, eye contact is not a one-size-fits-all expression. The way people use their eyes shifts depending on the social context, cultural norms, and personal comfort. In some cultures, Looking directly into someone's eyes is a sign of respect and equality, while in others, it may be perceived as a challenge or an affront. Understanding these variations is crucial for successful communication. For instance, the prolonged gaze in a conversation might indicate genuine interest, but if it stretches too long, it can become uncomfortable or even confrontational. People's comfort with eye contact can be a powerful clue to their emotional state, their level of self-assurance, or their desire to dominate or withdraw. Consider the subtle way that people's eyes can change with emotions. When someone is excited or passionate about what they're discussing, their pupils often dilate, signaling arousal and interest. In contrast, when someone feels threatened or anxious, their eyes might dart away, showing signs of discomfort or a desire to retreat. When lying, eyes can betray the truth. A flicker of uncertainty, a hesitation, or an unconscious movement of the eyes to the left or right can be an indicator of deception. While the brain is skilled at crafting believable stories, the eyes often reveal the real narrative. The way eyes are used in communication can also reveal hidden agendas. When a person shifts their gaze away just before they respond, or when they avoid eye contact when asked a direct question, it can suggest they are calculating their answer, protecting themselves, or choosing to withhold information. A quick glance at the watch, or an over-the-shoulder look while talking, can signify distraction or a lack of investment in the conversation. These subtle signals can often be missed, yet they contain important clues about the true nature of what is being said. The direction of a person's eyes also tells a story. If someone frequently looks up, they might be constructing an image or trying to remember information, tapping into their visual memory. Looking down might indicate discomfort, submission, or deep thought. When someone's gaze shifts to the side, it could signal contemplation, a desire to escape, or the processing of something that may be difficult to express. Even the way the eyes move within the confines of the face matters. Eyebrows that raise suddenly or a squint that narrows the eyes can punctuate a conversation with an added layer of meaning, like surprise, disbelief, or suspicion. The act of blinking is another telling detail. Rapid blinking can indicate nervousness or stress, while slow and steady blinking may suggest relaxation or engagement. People's blinking patterns can change when they're focused or tired, subtly revealing their state of mind. A slow, deliberate blink might even serve as an involuntary signal of agreement, showing that the person is processing what has been said and is aligning with the sentiment in their own mind. Eyes also communicate on a deeper, more intimate level. An intense shared gaze between two people can express affection, desire, or even unspoken understanding. It can convey feelings that words are not capable of capturing. A look that lingers, that holds the other person in place, is a silent language of connection. The softening of the eyes when accompanied by a smile sends a powerful message of trust and kindness. These expressions are not just gestures, they are emotional exchanges, capable of making or breaking the trust between people. The power of the eye also extends to how we observe and react to others in social interactions. People often instinctively mirror the gaze patterns of those they are comfortable with, creating a sense of camaraderie or harmony. If someone breaks eye contact, it could be because they feel overwhelmed, guarded, or out of their element. Recognizing and respecting these subtle shifts is essential for building rapport and understanding the dynamics at play in any interaction. Being attuned to how and when eye contact is made allows you to gauge whether someone feels engaged, respected, or defensive. The eyes may not lie, but they can certainly complicate the truth. Learning to read between the lines of a glance, the pause of an eyelid, and the openness of an unguarded gaze is an invaluable skill that opens doors to deeper connections and clearer communication. Chapter 7. Clues to Social Dynamics. Body language is an unspoken narrative that can tell us more about social structures than any formal speech or written memo. It is the subtle dance of gestures, posture, and movement that shapes relationships and gives clues about the power hierarchy, alliances, and underlying tensions within a group. In every room, the unspoken language of the body plays out, creating a visual map of who holds the influence, who is dominant, and who feels threatened or excluded. When you learn to read these nonverbal cues, you gain insight into the invisible threads that connect and divide people in professional and social settings. One of the most telling signs of power dynamics is how people position themselves in a space. Leaders, whether formal or informal, often claim a space and maintain a posture that communicates authority and confidence. They may stand with feet firmly planted, shoulders back, and their gaze moving with intent and assurance. Their movements are deliberate, each step or gesture a statement. Conversely, those who feel less secure or subordinate might make themselves smaller, crossing their arms, avoiding direct eye contact, or leaning back as if to create distance. This physical withdrawal signals a lack of comfort or an attempt to protect oneself from perceived challenges. The angle of the body during conversations can reveal a great deal about the level of engagement and interest. If someone leans forward, it's a sign that they're invested, showing a desire to connect and understand. On the other hand, a backward lean or a subtle turn of the body indicates that the person is either disinterested, detached, or perhaps holding back their true thoughts. These shifts in posture are important to note because they reflect the boundaries and emotional landscapes of those involved. In group settings, watching how the body language of individuals changes when a new person enters the room or when an unexpected topic is introduced can reveal much about their status and attitudes. Gestures play an equally powerful role in social dynamics. The way people use their hands when speaking can add an extra layer of meaning to their words. Open gestures, where the palms are visible and movements are expansive, are associated with confidence and openness. When someone's hands are tucked away or held tightly, it often points to restraint, nervousness, or a subconscious desire to keep control over their emotions. It's not just what people say, but how they express themselves that can signal their place within a group. A person who frequently fidgets or clenches their fists may be experiencing inner turmoil or trying to mask their true feelings. Eye contact, as discussed, holds its weight in social dynamics as well, but in groups, it becomes a tool for gauging influence. The one who maintains the most consistent and steady eye contact with others is often perceived as the leader or person in control. The direction in which people look, whether they seek out approval from others, avoid certain faces, or stare intently at one individual, can reveal who they are aligning with, who they respect, and who they see as a rival. Observing shifts in eye contact can help you understand moments of conflict or moments of agreement. The distribution of attention can also reveal underlying power structures. When a conversation begins, people naturally form circles that reflect their social connections and alliances. If a certain individual dominates the conversation, commanding the attention and responses of others, they likely hold a higher status within the group. Those with lesser influence might nod or smile in agreement, but refrain from voicing their thoughts unless directly addressed. It is also telling to watch when and how people interact with each other, whether they lean in when another person is speaking or check their watches, indicating an eagerness to move on. Small, unconscious actions can betray feelings that words and formal gestures might hide. The way someone adjusts their clothing, shifts their weight from one foot to the other, or glances at their phone can say more than any deliberate statement. These actions can signal impatience, discomfort, or an unspoken desire to distance themselves from a situation or person. When someone fidgets, it can suggest they're in an uncomfortable power dynamic or are resisting the need to conform to an imposed structure. The interactions between people in a group can also shed light on alliances under strain. When two people are in sync, their body language will often mirror each other's. This is known as mirroring and is an indicator of a strong bond or shared understanding. In contrast, if one individual noticeably diverges from the group's posture or gestures, it might suggest disagreement or a need to assert an independent stance. People in power may sometimes use mirroring to build rapport or subtly reinforce their influence over others. How people move, interact, and use space can reveal the unspoken tensions within a room. A sudden change in someone's posture or an abrupt halt in conversation can be the silent acknowledgement of a shift in power or an approaching confrontation. The collective behavior of a group will shift in these moments as individuals gauge the responses of those around them, adjust their own stances, and readjust their perceptions. Noticing the subtle shifts in body language during these tense moments can help unravel the complexities of relationships and inform you about who's leading, who's following, and who's being edged out. The true value of understanding body language in social dynamics is that it allows you to see beyond what is spoken and perceive the current undercurrents that shape interactions. Every movement, every glance, and every shift of posture is a piece of the puzzle. By observing these details, you gain a deeper sense of what is really happening, who holds sway, and where loyalty and tension lie. Chapter 8. Silence in Motion. Silence is often underestimated as mere absence, a void that is devoid of meaning. Yet, in the dance of human interaction, silence is a powerful communicator. It's more than just a pause, it's a statement in its own right, woven into the language of gestures, expressions, and subtle movements. This silence has depth. It can soothe, challenge, intimidate, or convey a range of emotions that words may fail to capture. Understanding silence in motion reveals a hidden world where our bodies speak louder than any voice ever could. Consider a room where a delicate tension hangs in the air, the kind that isn't so much felt as it is seen. When two people are at an impasse, silence takes over the space between them, yet it doesn't remain empty. A slight narrowing of the eyes, a hand tapping restlessly, or a shift in posture tells a story that words could not begin to express. It's in these moments that silence transforms into an active participant in the conversation, communicating frustration, uncertainty, or an unvoiced desire for resolution. The absence of words becomes an invitation to read deeper, to listen with more than just the ears. Sometimes silence is the expression of vulnerability. A person standing with arms at their sides, head slightly bowed, with a posture that suggests introspection, is signaling that they need space or time to process. This silent gesture invites understanding without demanding it. In a different situation, the same posture, paired with a prolonged glance downward, might signify regret or guilt. The silence in these movements doesn't simply hold a place, it carries the weight of emotion, each unspoken word layered in the folds of the body. Then, there are moments where silence is charged with anticipation. Picture a crowded room where someone stands apart, their gaze fixed on the entrance as they await someone's arrival. Their stillness, held in that suspended moment, becomes a telling display of eagerness, fear, or perhaps excitement. The way they hold their breath, eyes wide or half closed, shows an emotional spectrum that could shift with the opening of a door. The air seems to thicken, as silence becomes an anticipatory force, pulling the attention of those around them. It is in that kind of silence where power is quietly asserted, where the unspoken words build a narrative that everyone senses but no one names. Silence is also a mirror of confidence. When someone stands tall, with their back straight and head lifted, they're silently declaring their presence and self-assuredness. There's no need for loud declarations when the way a person moves or holds themselves projects unyielding confidence. But this is a two-way street. There are also silent signals of discomfort or fear. The subtle retreat of someone who shifts their weight from foot to foot, or the tentative placement of a hand on their chest, often suggests insecurity or the effort to reassure oneself. The movement becomes an eloquent dialogue with an audience that can read these signs without the need for spoken confirmation. In public spaces, silence can be the force that maintains social harmony. Small movements like a quick glance away when someone else is speaking, or a slight nod to show agreement without interrupting, create a language of respect. Silence can signal the boundaries of social interaction, telling someone when it is their turn to speak or when it's better to stay quiet. In such settings, Maintaining silence is not just courteous, but essential for the flow of conversation, acting as an unspoken cue that directs the rhythm of social engagement. In close relationships, silence can be a powerful bridge. The act of holding someone's gaze without the need to speak during a moment of shared understanding is a silent bond stronger than words. When two people sit together, their movements in silence can create an atmosphere that says everything without uttering a single word. A shared smile, a knowing glance, or even the soft touch of a hand communicates a world of comfort and solidarity. Yet silence isn't always soothing. It can be the sharpest edge in a room. The silence that follows an accusation or a heated conversation is not just an absence of noise. It's the heaviness that presses down, turning each second into a weight that becomes difficult to bear. The shuffling of feet, the sudden folding of arms, the turning of a head away. These are the body's responses that speak of disconnection and avoidance. Silence here does not bring peace. It erects an invisible wall that holds emotions back, where words are stifled and communication stalls. In the end, silence in motion is an intricate part of human expression. It's not simply what isn't said, it's the myriad of things that are said without sound. It is the pulse of moments where nothing is said aloud yet everything is understood. It's a shared look, the tension of a clenched jaw or the calm of a steady rhythmic breathing that speaks volumes. In the dance of social interaction, silence is a force, its presence felt in every shift, every movement, and every pause. Chapter 9. Mastering the conversation without words. Communication is more than the words we speak. It's the silent messages we send through our movements, expressions, and posture. Every gesture, shift in stance, or subtle change in our face speaks volumes, whether we intend it or not. Understanding how to harness these nonverbal cues can be transformative, helping us project confidence, show empathy, and create an atmosphere of openness in our interactions. Confidence isn't just a feeling, it's a presence that can be seen and felt through body language. When we move with purpose, standing tall with our feet firmly planted and shoulders back, we project an image of self-assurance. This is the body saying, "I am here, I belong, and I am secure." The slight lift of the chin can add a layer of assertion, not in a way that demands attention, but rather in a way that quietly commands respect. Confidence also radiates through the openness of our gestures, open palms, relaxed arms, and steady eye contact that isn't demanding but inviting. These subtle signs tell others that we're not only present, but fully engaged and unthreatened by the space around us. Openness is the invitation to others, a signal that we are approachable and interested. It's seen in the way we position ourselves during a conversation, leaning slightly forward, maintaining an unhurried posture, and mirroring another person's subtle movements can create a sense of connection that words alone cannot. When someone shares an experience or a story, our body can show that we're listening and that their words matter. The tilt of the head, for instance, or a gentle nod at the right moments encourages the speaker to keep going, reinforcing that their thoughts are welcomed and valued. A slight smile, even when no words are spoken, can change the direction of a conversation, adding warmth and safety. The way we use space, maintaining a distance that respects personal boundaries but isn't so far that we seem detached, is another silent cue that we're engaged. Empathy flows through the smallest of cues, transforming an interaction from transactional to deeply human. Empathy is when our body syncs with another's experience, becoming a bridge between our worlds. This can be reflected in mirrored postures and movements, the unspoken reflection of what someone else feels. If someone is speaking about a difficult moment, the subtle softening of our gaze, an inclined shoulder, or even leaning back to give them space can speak of shared understanding. Pausing before we respond, letting the silence fill the air just long enough to show we're processing their words, shows that we're not just waiting to speak, but we're absorbing their message. A touch of the hand to the chest or a small shift in posture to face them fully can reflect care without needing a word. Facial expressions hold the power to be both universal and specific. A raised eyebrow, a slight crinkle of the forehead, or the softening of the eyes tell stories of surprise, curiosity, or concern. These expressions become even more powerful when they're tied to a thoughtful posture or movement. For instance, crossing arms might suggest a defensive stance, but uncrossing them and leaning slightly forward can signal a readiness to engage. The face, with its multitude of expressions, can betray the feelings we're attempting to mask or enhance the ones we wish to project. Mastering this awareness allows us to ensure that our physical responses align with the feelings we wish to express. The subtle sway of body language isn't just in individual movements but in the harmony between them. The steady rhythm of breathing, timed with calm movements, can project composure and control. When we feel anxious or nervous, our bodies might betray us with fidgeting, restless feet or tense shoulders. Being mindful of these and gently releasing that tension through deliberate, slow movements helps center ourselves and communicate assurance. Relaxing the jaw, releasing any clenching in the fists, or focusing on deep, even breaths helps in regaining control and refocusing our nonverbal signals. Empathy can also be communicated through proximity and posture. When someone is sharing a vulnerable thought or feeling, shifting to face them squarely, stepping into their space ever so slightly, without invading it, or even adjusting the tilt of our body to meet theirs, can demonstrate we're tuned in to what they're saying. It's not just about being near them physically, but aligning our presence so they don't feel alone in their experience. The human body has an innate ability to intuitively mirror and adapt to another's rhythm, which deepens understanding and connection without a single word being spoken. Emotional intelligence is displayed in the subtle dance of body language. It's not just about knowing what we're conveying, but being attuned to what others are signaling back. Noticing when someone leans back or withdraws in response to our body language can indicate discomfort or the need for a change in the conversation's direction. Similarly, when they open up, leaning in and matching their level of energy, we are reinforcing our shared space and encouraging them to be authentic. This is how we maintain an unspoken bond and keep the conversation flowing naturally. The power of nonverbal communication is profound, yet its mastery requires awareness and practice. It's an art of living in tune with ourselves and others, crafting a language of gestures and expressions that are as nuanced and complex as spoken words. The next time you're in a conversation, take a moment to step outside yourself and become aware of how you're speaking without words. Your posture, your gaze, the way your hands move. These are all part of the dialogue, revealing confidence, empathy, and openness without ever breaking the silence. Chapter 10. Pitfalls and Perceptions. The subtle art of reading body language is powerful, but it comes with its own set of complexities. When it comes to interpreting non-verbal cues, our natural instinct can sometimes lead us astray. Misinterpretation is not just a possibility, it's a common hazard that we must learn to navigate. While it's easy to jump to conclusions based on a glance, a shift in posture, or the way someone's eyes dart around a room, these signals don't always mean what we think they do. The ability to decode body language effectively requires more than just recognizing the gestures. It demands a keen sense of awareness of our own biases and the context in which these cues occur. One of the main pitfalls in interpreting body language lies in the assumptions we bring to our observations. Humans are wired to search for patterns and assign meaning to them, often using our own experiences as a framework. This can create a filter that clouds our judgment. For instance, if someone crosses their arms during a meeting, it may immediately strike us as defensive or resistant, but crossing arms might simply be a comfortable stance for them, or a way to ward off the chill in the room. It's all too easy to attribute a personal motive or an emotional state based on our internal narrative, which might not align with reality. The challenge, then, is to temper our instinctive conclusions and remember that body language is not a one-size-fits-all signal. Another common trap is taking gestures out of context. A furrowed brow might indicate concern or confusion, but it could also mean someone is deep in thought, trying to piece together complex information. Likewise, a lack of eye contact isn't always a sign of dishonesty or discomfort. It could just as easily be a cultural norm or a sign of shyness. To accurately decode body language, context is everything. observing how someone moves and reacts in different situations, with different people, and at various points in a conversation is essential. It's about understanding the flow of communication as a whole, and not isolating one gesture as proof of a specific sentiment. Cultural differences play a major role in how body language is expressed and perceived. What is considered a sign of confidence in one culture could be interpreted as rude or aggressive in another. For example, direct eye contact is seen as a mark of attentiveness and honesty in some societies, but can be considered confrontational in others. Similarly, certain gestures may be seen as positive in one setting, but could have an entirely different connotation elsewhere. The key to avoiding misunderstandings is to approach each interaction with a sense of cultural curiosity and respect. Being open to learning about how different cultures use body language will help expand our understanding and prevent us from jumping to biased conclusions. Emotional states and personal experiences also shape how we express and interpret nonverbal cues. Someone who has faced repeated rejection might perceive guarded gestures as a personal slight, even if the person exhibiting those gestures is simply introverted or cautious. Our internal landscape often molds how we read others, so it's vital to step outside our own emotional filters and focus on the broader picture. A single gesture should never be the sole focus of our interpretation. We should look for clusters of behaviors that reinforce or contradict one another to paint a more accurate picture. Biases, both conscious and unconscious, play a significant role in how we interpret body language. Stereotypes and preconceptions can skew our perception, leading us to see what we expect to see rather than what is actually there. For instance, if we have an unconscious bias against someone because of their age or appearance, we might misread their actions as lackluster or aloof, even if they are simply tired or distracted. Being aware of these biases means actively checking our reactions and approaching each interaction with a fresh perspective, free from preconceived notions. Sometimes, there's a fine line between interpreting cues accurately and projecting our own assumptions onto them. When we find ourselves starting to read too much into a person's movements or expressions, it can be a sign that our mind is going down a path of overanalysis. To combat this, we must practice mindfulness in our observations, slowing down and pausing before we jump to conclusions. Pausing allows us to recalibrate, observe more carefully, and understand that body language often works in concert with other communication methods. When words, tone, and actions align, our interpretations are more likely to be accurate. Listening actively can make all the difference. When we are truly engaged in what someone is saying, we are better able to observe how their body language aligns with their spoken words. This helps us avoid the trap of projecting our feelings onto the situation. When there's a disconnect, we should remain open to exploring it instead of assuming we know the answer. Our response to subtle shifts, a sudden change in posture, a brief gesture that seems to contradict their words, should be measured and empathetic. It's not about solving the mystery right away, but understanding that there is often more to be discovered. To decode body language effectively, a practical approach is to ask questions that invite clarification. If something seems off or unclear, rather than making an assumption, express curiosity through our own openness. A subtle, "Can you tell me more about what you just said?" Or, "I noticed you looked away. Is there something on your mind?" opens the door to deeper insight without putting someone on the defensive. It shifts the focus from interpreting their behavior to understanding their perspective. Mastering the art of interpreting body language requires practice and a genuine commitment to seeing others clearly. It's about learning to be present, catching the smallest of cues, and piecing them together in a way that respects the unique story of the individual in front of us. In doing so, we move beyond the surface and reach a place where our understanding is more authentic and our connections are stronger. Chapter 11. The Art of Reading Between the Lines. Conversations at their core are a delicate dance of words and gestures. The most insightful communicators don't just listen to what is said, they pay close attention to what is left unsaid, to the silent messages conveyed through tone, expression, and subtle movements. Reading between the lines isn't just about interpreting words. It's about piecing together a larger narrative that encompasses both the spoken and the unspoken. It's an art that requires awareness, intuition, and the ability to trust your instincts without falling into the trap of overthinking. The ability to read between the lines begins with understanding that words are often only a part of the story. People are skilled at masking their true emotions, intentions, or thoughts behind carefully chosen phrases. As a result, what's spoken is frequently just the surface layer, a curtain that hides deeper truths. To see beyond this, we must look for the contradictions and the subtle hints that reveal what someone might not be saying outright. Sometimes it's in the way a person's voice shifts when they talk about a particular topic, or how their eyes flicker with an emotion that doesn't align with the words they choose. The key is to stay present and attentive, not just to hear, but to sense and feel. Context is essential in connecting the dots. A statement that might come off as dismissive in one situation could be an expression of genuine concern in another. The same facial expression may denote surprise in a moment of joy or shock in a moment of fear. These distinctions are critical for understanding the layers of meaning that exist in any exchange. We must learn to tune into the ebb and flow of conversation, noting shifts in posture, changes in speech patterns, or pauses that feel more loaded than usual. When someone hesitates or pauses unexpectedly, it's often the mind wrestling with the decision of whether or not to say what's really on their mind. Emotions are powerful signals that can't be easily hidden, and they often reveal themselves through our non-verbal communication. It's not just about noticing a smile or frown, but discerning whether it's genuine or forced. A smile that reaches only the lips and not the eyes, known as a duping delight or a non-authentic smile, can be a clue that someone is trying to convey emotions they don't actually feel. On the other hand, a fleeting moment of vulnerability caught in someone's expression, a softening of the eyes, a quick downward glance, a furrowed brow, can tell you a great deal about their true state of mind. Body language, too, is an open book if we know how to read it. A clenched fist, a sudden shift in weight, or an unintentional step backward can reveal discomfort or resistance. Yet these signals are rarely absolute on their own. To piece together the complete picture, we must analyze them alongside other elements of the interaction. This is where the subtleties of gestures become important. How does the person's body angle toward or away from the speaker? Are they leaning in, signaling interest, or leaning back, signaling withdrawal? Are their hands in motion, gesturing with purpose, or lying still, betraying a sense of unease? Each movement, no matter how minute, is a thread that we weave into the fabric of understanding. A powerful tool for reading between the lines is empathy. Putting ourselves in the other person's shoes allows us to filter their actions through an emotional lens, giving us insight into their perspective. This doesn't mean we adopt their beliefs or make assumptions based on our experiences, but rather that we step aside from our own thoughts to interpret what is happening before us without prejudice. When we are empathetic, we are able to sense the feelings behind words and actions, whether they are expressed or concealed. A slight change in breathing, a hand running nervously through the hair, or a sudden sharp intake of breath can speak volumes when we approach them with empathy and open-mindedness. However, it's not just a matter of reading cues in isolation. The meaning comes from synthesizing different elements of communication. We need to observe not just what is said and how it's said, but also what's not said. For example, a comment about work might seem innocent enough, but when accompanied by a subtle frown or a momentary change in tone, it could reveal deeper frustrations or unspoken concerns. It's our job to piece these subtle hints together and ask questions or respond in a way that invites further sharing without intruding. The art of reading between the lines requires trust in oneself. It's a dance of intuition and logic, where the brain sifts through the chaos of verbal and nonverbal signals to find coherence. This doesn't come easily, as it's easy to second-guess our interpretations or let our assumptions lead us astray. To sharpen this skill, we must practice patience, making the effort to read a situation holistically and refraining from rushing to conclusions. It's also about understanding that our own reactions and moods influence how we perceive others. In moments of stress or fatigue, our minds may interpret cues differently than when we are calm and alert. Being aware of our state of mind can help us discern when we are projecting our emotions onto a conversation, and when we need to step back to gain clarity. It's not just the intention behind what someone says that matters. It's the story their body is telling at the same time. Someone might express excitement with an exclamation, but if their posture is slumped or their eyes are not engaged, that enthusiasm may not be as genuine as it appears. Reading between the lines means interpreting this silent narrative in a way that reveals the truth beneath the words. The most effective communicators don't just hear the words being said. They absorb the conversation as a living thing, picking up on every shift, glance, and subtle gesture that contributes to the overall message. They can distinguish between genuine emotion and what's carefully hidden, between the spoken and the unspoken. It's about embracing the full spectrum of communication and understanding that words are only the tip of the iceberg. To master the art of reading between the lines, we need to observe, connect, and understand, not just what is said, but what is truly meant. Conclusion. As we close the final chapter, consider this. The essence of communication is not confined to the words we speak, but extends to the unscripted moments between them, where truth slips through the cracks of conversation and our bodies become the storytellers. The silent language that we've explored is not a skill to be mastered in isolation. It is an art of attunement, a practice that deepens with each encounter and each moment of awareness. The world around us is a constant dance of movement, expression, and subtle signals. It whispers secrets that are not found in textbooks or rehearsed speeches, but in the unguarded glances, the nervous gestures, the warm touches, and the stillness that holds its breath. When we learn to read these unspoken cues, we unlock a level of understanding that transcends superficial interactions. We create bonds that are richer, connections that resonate with depth, and relationships that thrive on authenticity. This journey does not end here. As you step back into the rhythm of daily life, take with you the knowledge that you now have the keys to decipher a language that exists beneath the surface. Whether you're in a high-stakes meeting, sharing a quiet moment with a friend, or navigating a challenging conversation, let your awareness be your guide. Listen not just with your ears, but with your eyes, your intuition, and your empathy. Respond not just with words, but with gestures, postures, and presence that communicate the understanding and respect that others crave. Be mindful of the power of your own body language, the way you stand, the way you listen, the way you make space for others to express themselves. With every gesture, you are speaking volumes, shaping the conversations of your life, and setting the tone for how you engage with the world around you. Remember that the greatest communicators are not those who know the most words, but those who can translate what's left unsaid into an authentic dialogue. They understand that the art of reading between the lines is not just about deciphering what is communicated, but also about discovering the unspoken truths that shape our perceptions, beliefs, and actions. In the end, mastering the silent language of body and presence is a lifelong journey. It is an act of listening deeply, responding with intention, and being open to the invisible threads that connect us all. It's about embracing the dance of distance, the strength of a shared glance, and the profound knowledge that true connection is born not from words alone, but from the spaces between them. So, as you go forward, trust in this language and let it guide you to deeper understanding, more meaningful relationships, and the uncharted territory of human connection. Your support makes all the difference. If you enjoy our content, consider joining our channel memberships to unlock special perks and exclusive content. Members help us keep the creative energy flowing and allow us to reach more people with powerful and uplifting content. Join us and be a part of something meaningful.